morning to you. It's I, your old Grandpa Coyote, coming to you from Crestone, Colorado, here in the United States of America. Land of the free, home of the slave. Yeah, right. Free if you can afford to be, but you better have plenty of it. Forgive me, I'm always making fun of the money world. I can't help it. It is funny money. And it's about out of biz. And everybody that's got a soul knows it. So listen up, kiddos. Your soul knows, too. But we're here today talking about DayJaVu. You know, which means, yeah, right. We have all been here before. But there's something more to it than that. So let's give her a little backdrop here. You look around you in this United States of America and the rest of the world pretty much as well, but especially here in the United States. And you see signs all over the place that our own government is setting up to go to war with the people. They're expecting something big, and they're going to put people in prison camps and so forth. You just see all kinds of indications. Homeland security by a military weaponry. Homeland security. I call it homeland insecurity because that's about what it is. And again, I'm giving fair warning to those that work for Homeland Security and the rest of these insane little bureaucracies that are trying to impose a certain form of Nazism upon this country. You better knock it off. Time to resign your commission. Get out of there while the getting's good. Because you ain't going to want to be there when those kind of marching orders come down, because you're going to have some trouble because you ain't going to be able to fulfill them. And sure, they've got lots of foreign troops here now disguised as workers in the ghettos and disguised as restaurant owners and employees and so forth. There's a whole bunch of foreign military been brought into this country with the aim of controlling the people with an outside force, knowing that our inside, but it's all coming to a head, but it's all coming to naught. They would love, the powers that be would love to impose a civil war here, because that gives them the rule, the excuse to rule with an iron fist. Is that what you want? Of course not. Nobody does. Except for a few insane idiots up there in D.C. and New York City and a few places not too far beyond that. But that's just people under the control of an even bigger power. You ever wondered why the government is so afraid of its people? In nearly 99% of the cases, the governments of the people fear the people. Why is that? Because the people are the power, not the government. And the people that work in the government know this. And so they consciously work to destroy any self-confidence you have inside yourself, to make you subservient to their religion. And that's what it's boiled down to now. There's a religion that goes with government. And it's called not for the people. We rule here, whoever this we is. But it's funny. History just keeps repeating itself. We have all been here before. We've been in this situation before. Something very similar to it. Far more sophisticated than what we're seeing here now. Because this is really, like I keep telling you, the end of the Dark Ages. So we've been as dumbed down, at worse than cave people. You thought cave people were unenlightened? All you see is bones. You have no idea. But the clues, the information are there inside of you. The whole story is. And I'm here to help you unlock that, so that you can have access and memory to what really goes on here. And not this facade we call history. And not this memory we call memory. I mean, there's so much more to it. There's so much more that we're living. The people are so much larger than they've ever been given to be. But we've been through an age of disempowerment, an age of untruthfulness, an age of lies and illusions where they have ruled here for thousands and thousands and thousands of years. But we came from a more enlightened place. And before that generation or that genesis in humanity, there was another that was even more enlightened. Way back to Lemuria, and the continent of Mu as it's called in the legends of these days. So you know, we've been to these places before. The Atlantean age that preceded this age. Far more enlightened than this one, yes, but we came to the same place. And there was the war. There was the promise that there would not be this war, but there was the war. And it was between everybody and everything, each person for themselves. And bombs were falling from the sky, and whole planets were being destroyed. And Earth became so upset with her disfiguration that Atlantis ceased to be. Fell right into the ocean. Just disappeared in a heartbeat. Mama Earth has a history of this kind of change. Instant, sudden, all at once. So I'm telling those that are here to prepare for war, no matter which side of the fence you're on, the good guys, the bad guys, you're all the same. There is no good guys in wars. That's a lie and an illusion. Death is the only thing that rules in war. You have no understanding or comprehension of what you're about to undertake against your own people. But I'm here to help share that consciousness with you. One little light comes on, two little lights comes on, and pretty soon there's nobody to enforce your war. The orders come down from on high. They might as well burn them in the fireplace. Throw the computer in there right along with it that sends them out. Because it isn't going to work this time. And you know why? Because we have been here before. We, the people, we're waking up now. We're remembering. We're knowing who we are and what we're all about. And yeah, when we remember past lives, we don't live those. Those are already lived. We don't relive what's already gone. We let that memory that we share with this other life, as it surfaces inside of us through meditative practices, we let that just become an acknowledged part of ourselves, just like an ear, or a toe, or a knee, or other things. It's just a part of who we are. It's not who we are. Some people get lost in the past, thinking that's where they're better off being. Hey, you contributed what you were there to contribute, whether you were a serf, a slave, a king, queen, princess, whatever. You did your duty then just like you're doing now, no matter the role you're playing. You're always in service to the heart. And we play out this little drama in this life in service to that heart. We don't have to live in the past to be somebody. We are who we are right now. This composite mix of everything we'll ever be, past, present, future, it's all right here now. This is what we are. Not something we're remembering from the past. That's a part of us now. But it's not the complete whole, no matter how good or bad or indifferent that life may have been. Say you remember yourself to be Joan of Arc. That's still a nice little role, turning point for civilization to a certain extent. Yes, 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 but there were many around you that were disacknowledged in that age, that were far grander heroes. You're just a legend. That's what you've become. Yeah, you were a gifted person. You did a lot of nice things for the people. Yes. You also did a lot of screw-ups, because we're fumble butts. Human beings are fumble butts. It's part of our age of darkness mentality, you see. So don't go getting hung up. If you think for certain you know that you were Joan of Arc, be Joan of Arc inside yourself. Let that be part of you. It's not who you are now. That was a whole different circumstance, a whole different set of rules, yet in another way very similar to what we're facing now. Do people need to be controlled and contained? That's the question. And the answer is a resolute no, of course not. People need to be awakened so they can't be so controlled, because we're already in prison. Everybody that's out there so worried about the government coming and locking you up and throwing away the key and recommitting the Nazi atrocities, only this time against everybody, give it up. You're already a prisoner. That's just another step down the line. In your mind, you've been contained, controlled for many generations now, even as Joan of Arc or whatever else you might have been. It's not something that came along new with this age of science. Yeah, they're using a lot of technology to enforce it now. Other people are more conscious of it and are trying superficially to impose controls over the controls. But the mind control is a web that began way back there in those Atlantean times. There was a deliberate design set loose along with that war back then that laid the remainder of the people on this planet under the control of certain, let's say, foreign entities that don't come from this planet, that come from far beyond it. And it is, quote, quote, they who have ruled the energy here since that time. We gave that license to them by committing ourselves to that war. Way back when, 25, 30, 35,000 years ago, something like that. It's quite a ways back. But you don't hear anybody talking about it much. Yet that information's coming out now. What's been hidden, everything that's been hidden, becomes revealed now. Light and dark. All of it. The stuff that's gone on under the surface. The ritual murders, the child abuse, the terror. Every bit of it. That's why I warn you people that work for NASA and Homeland Security, in fact, any part of our government that isn't humanitarian, to resign right now. Step away from it and no longer be a part. Become conscious of what you're doing. I mean, do it for a reason, not just because this old man said so, but because you know the truth is about to be revealed. And you don't want your ass hanging from a lamppost the way they used to do it in the old revolutions. When people found out what the kind of skullduggery, you'd lose your head. They'd burn you at the stake. And they'd burn anybody because they get in a killing kind of mood. And so anybody that looked the least little bit different or responsible got it too. There are a lot of innocent folks die in such times. That's why we're not going to have it this time. This time we end the struggle with peace by no longer making war upon that peace inside of ourselves. This is what I'm here to offer and share with you, all of you, myself included, as a human being, as a heart that lives and loves to be loved, and loves to be loved, to move forward in that motion, that thing we felt as a child that got so stuffed away and became this longing, this secret longing, because we had to hide it as children, to become the innocent, beautiful being that we are. The person that is so innocent, yeah, it can be God in creation, Goddess, Mama, Papa. It can let creation flow through it. It's innocent. So creation becomes as it is, as it wishes to be, and is allowed to express itself naturally. But the more conscious all of this creation becomes, the more we see the harmony in every bit of it. And there won't be governments. There won't be money. There'll be peace, joy, a great shared joy all across this earth. And it's in you already. It's in me too. It's in every one that lives now. Even the atrocious clones they've been creating back there in D.C. and other places. Consciousness is in all life. And that's what we're becoming aware of. And as we do so, we will move more naturally in tune with all that lives. The natural harmony returns to us now. Yeah, we give up a lot of our trappings, our fancy houses, our scooty little cars, our color TVs, but we give it up quite naturally because they no longer serve us. We don't need them. We move beyond such requirements because we're living in peace and harmony with all that is. Our place of being, our resting places and so forth come naturally to us. Our home is in our heart. And when I say heart, I'm talking about the center of your chest, where consciousness resides. The physical heart is a presence attached to that. There's an emotional heart over here, an energetic heart down here, an intellectual heart up here. It's all the same heart. They're not in parts and pieces. There's functional division within them that works together the same way a human being's body works together. It's all the same thing. A finger and a toe, no less valuable to you. One helps you maintain your balance. One helps you pick up things and express things. And brings a lot of pleasure to others when properly employed. With that loving energy flowing through you. People, you've got to understand all the beliefs and practices we've held here, without exception, have been lies and illusions. Even a lot of the New Age stuff, a lot of the channelings you get, they're designed. They're part of that thought control, mind control. They're designed to keep you fighting something, to keep you feeling divided from something, even if it only evokes a feeling of sympathy towards others, because you feel so much better off than they are. And how absurd is that? There's not one human being here better off than the lowest of the human beings. Think about that. And go lift up your brother and your sister out of the street and help them out. Help them get going again. And if you can't do that, find somebody that will. If that's beyond your capabilities. Oh, hey, open up your big houses. If you've got the room, the space to share, do it. But do it because you're motivated to from inside of yourself. Because you see the wisdom in doing so. Not just because somebody else says it, but because you're conscious of it. You want to do it. There'll be no war here. There'll be no classes or divisions. There'll be levels and grades, I suppose you could call them, different places of existence, because we enjoy the variety. Yet all of those levels and angles and personal forms of expression live inside of the atmosphere of love, and therefore are the heart, and therefore are part of the great heart of creation, the same being. The same experience experienced in uncountable numbers of ways, through uncountable numbers of beings and forms of expression. Energies and powers, I call them. It includes planets and stars, the whole 9 yards. They're only a small part of creation. For as all the grandeur we see out there, and then when we look inside ourselves, the same for all of that. It's like a focal point in creation. It moves out from there. Creation is so much more expansive even than our simple little universe. That's why people have visions of several universes. There's several different ways, several different methods and forms of experiencing creation. And that's all it is. People think this is higher and that is lower and this is in the middle. So, I mean, horseshit. Everybody lives at the same level. The lowest form of life amongst your species is that by which you're measured. And that gives us a long ways to go, don't it, fellow humans, except that we've paid our dues and we no longer live in the illusions of judgment on ourselves. And therefore we can let it go. Peace and healing is spreading through this land. Awakening is occurring everywhere, a moment at a time. But there comes this far-reaching moment, the sudden one, that Mother Earth always unleashes. This time, it's an experience in a whole new paradigm. So all I'm suggesting here by saying maybe you should resign or do this, do that, do the other, is prepare yourselves for what's coming. The less of a shock it is to your system, the more you'll be able to move smoothly into it. But there's lots of us here that will help you along the way if you get stuck somewhere. And we don't care if you've been the nastiest ward in the nastiest prison on earth, the biggest asshole ever created, the #1 dude with all the money. Who cares who you've been? It's what you are now. That's why, as consciousness comes to you and I too and all the rest of us, and releases us from this prison of judgment and discernment and having to see through others' motives and so on and so forth, the illusion, in other words, then we all have equity. And no person is above another person. No form of creation lives more grandly than another. And each is appreciated for its little speck in life. Well, if it's just a speck, perhaps that speck's a larger speck. Who knows? Doesn't really concern us any longer. Except that we encourage all life to go forward and experience itself and keep on feeling it. And there's this moment. I've compared it to what I call the eternal orgasm. It's the expansive joy of creation. The shout that goes on forever. The moment that creation began within itself. And it's expansive. Ever and ever. Joy. I mean, there's no words that can describe this. But that's where we're headed. That's where we're going. That's who we are as human beings. That's what this little journey here is all about. Goodness gracious, this old man loves you. And from my heart, I send the best of love. Because I've been allowed to awaken a little bit prematurely so that I can help create the paths for the rest of you. So there's a few of us assembling here in Colorado and other places around the globe. Everybody will be reassembling before too long. But this interim thing, don't be too concerned about what you see going on around you. It's becoming more and more visible. They really are getting ready to impose a certain state of control over humanity here in the U.S. of A. in particular that they haven't had before, these governmental types. Not to worry. The consciousness will outrace them. There won't be anybody there to enforce the orders, like I say, when they come down. And you people from the top to the bottom in government. And I'm talking about visible and invisible, so don't just get your act together. Get the flock out of Dodge. Go live on a mountaintop somewhere. Reform yourself. Do this now while there's still time. We wouldn't want your presence to evaporate and have to renew itself in some other odd configuration just so it can learn its lessons there. How would we? Everybody's here together. We're all in it all at one time. You're no better than I am. I'm no better than you are. There isn't anybody here one step ahead of anyone else. That's part of the illusion too. People like me exist to help you realize the creation in yourself. And I don't get it till you get it. Even though I get to stretch into it and see it so I can come back and describe it. I don't live there yet. Not until everybody does. No one, no babies left behind. How's that for a paraphrase, babies? I'm sorry to get so earnest with you this morning, but you know, there's a lot of bullshit out there and a lot of fear going around on both sides of the fence, and there's a lot of forces trying to amp it up. Keep people under control. Keep them fixated on the enemy. Well, I've seen the enemy, it's us, but guess what? There ain't no enemy. There's nothing to fight with. There's nothing to fight for. Not freedom. Hell, we haven't been free since God knows when. We've always been slaves. Slaves to this little body, if nothing else, but this little body's been contained and controlled by energies and forces beyond ourselves. And when you really start getting honest with yourself, when you start seeing the truth of it, you'll even see that a lot of your thoughts and feelings are not original. They feel, they come inside of you, therefore they're a part of you. But babies, much of it, I'm sad to say, has been imposed on us. Much of our behavior is like a script that we follow. But there's also the script of the heart, which allows you to see through it all. We've chosen this way of being. We wanted to know powerlessness. We wanted to know how low we could go and still endure it, and still have peace, find peace, live peace, be peace. So there's nothing really wrong with what we've done. And where we're going is the all-important thing right now, because we're already there inside of ourselves. So going is a term that says moving into realization. You're really going nowhere. You're staying inside yourself and expanding into conscious awareness all around you. This goes out and out and joins with everything else, comes back. I mean, it's already joined. It's already there. So the realization is the experience. That's what we're after here. That's what we're gaining. Many people call it remembering, waking up. But that's what it is. Expanding into conscious reality. And no longer living as unconscious beings, because we served our term. This form of our quote, quote, education is over. Now we get to remember and move forward, because we certainly deserve it after all we've been through. Stretched our souls to the max, babies. Stretched our heart almost to the point of meaninglessness, yet here it is, alive and conscious, aware inside of us. We're still feeling human beings. We are not dead. We are the living.
Crystal blue persuasion. It's a new